At my sister's engagement dinner, I revealed my gift. 6 months of their new apartment's rent paid in full. She laughed, and with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, she whispered, 6 months won't even cover the down payment on the new kitchen. Add a year, and maybe you'll make it to the wedding? I smiled back, took the envelope, and slid it into my jacket pocket. That's a shame, I replied, because you just lost the gift entirely. As her smile faded, I leaned in close. By the way, Mom said she'd be happy to store your boxes in the garage. The glint in her eyes changed from smugness to pure panic. I never imagined I'd be the kind of brother to ignite a family feud. But some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. What happened that night changed our relationship forever, and I still wonder if my revenge was too sweet or not sweet enough. Let me start from the beginning. My sister and I inherited our childhood home from our grandmother 2 years ago. The house was a relic, filled with the warmth of 1,000 memories and the ghosts of our family's past. It was also mortgage-free and in a fantastic neighborhood, a jackpot we never expected. We'd always been close. So when the lawyer read the will stating we'd inherited it jointly, we made what seemed like a natural decision. She would live there, a steward of our family legacy, while I kept my apartment closer to my job. Our deal was simple. She'd handle the small stuff, utilities and basic upkeep, and I would cover the property taxes and any major repairs. I never asked for rent. That's just not what you do with family. When she got engaged last year, I was genuinely thrilled. Her fiancé, a man named Mark, seemed like a decent guy, though his family carried themselves with an air of superiority that was hard to ignore. They were wealthy and made no secret of their disdain for our more modest background. The cracks in our arrangement started to show 6 months ago. She began dropping hints about renovating the house before the wedding. She called them small updates, like a new kitchen and bathroom to make it more presentable for Mark's family. I agreed to split the costs, thinking it would be a solid investment in our shared property. What I didn't realize was that she'd already planned a complete and overhaul. Her hints quickly turned into demands. She wanted granite countertops, top-of-the-line appliances, and a full-scale bathroom remodel with expensive fixtures. When I suggested we look at more affordable options, she accused me of being cheap and holding her back from her dream wedding. The conversations grew increasingly tense. She would remind me that she was the one living there, suffering through the outdated amenities daily, as if I was the one inconveniencing her. Then came the real bomb. 3 months before the engagement dinner, she didn't ask, but informed me that Mark would be moving in after the wedding. I pointed out that we'd never discussed this, but she just laughed it off, saying I was being ridiculous. It's my home too, isn't it? She said, adding that Mark had already given notice on his apartment. I tried to be the voice of reason. I suggested we create a formal rental agreement, especially since there would now be 2 people living there. She lost her temper, accusing me of trying to profit off my own family. She reminded me that Mark's family already thought we were beneath them, and that my pettiness would only prove their point. But it wasn't about money. It was about respect and communication. I owned half that house. I had been paying the property taxes and covering major repairs for 2 years, and now I was expected to accept 2 tenants living there for free, while also paying for their extravagant renovations. When I tried to explain this, she cut me off, saying we'd discuss it after the engagement party. She didn't want any drama ruining her special day. That's when I made my decision. If she wanted to treat this like a business arrangement, then a business arrangement it would become. I spent the next few weeks submerged in legal research. I learned that as a joint owner, I couldn't simply evict her. However, I could force a sale of the property, which is called a partition sale. I also discovered that Mark had no legal right to live there without my consent. My research also led me to something even more infuriating. While reviewing old documents, I found records proving that I'd been paying significantly more than half of the costs over the past 2 years. I had paid for a new roof, furnace repairs, and countless other expenses without a second thought, assuming she was carrying her weight. The difference was substantial, and it became clear that I was not just a co-owner, but a silent bank for her. The week before the engagement dinner, she called with a list of instructions. Not requests, instructions. I was to arrive early to help set up, bring a substantial gift, and keep my mouth shut about any family business. She had already told Mark's family that my engagement gift would be a financial contribution to the renovations. That was the final straw. She had not only made unilateral decisions about our shared property, but she was also lying about my involvement and treating me like a hired hand for her party. It was clear she never intended to respect my ownership. I prepared my surprise. I had my lawyer draft a partition sale notice, which would force the sale of the house within 90 days. He also prepared a demand for reimbursement, detailing all my financial contributions. The final piece was a 30-day notice for Mark to vacate the property, as he had moved in a month prior despite my explicit objections. I was ready to play her game, but on my terms. The dinner was held at an upscale restaurant, packed with Mark's family and our own. I arrived on time, the gift envelope hidden in my jacket, and played the part of the happy, supportive brother. I smiled, made small talk, and listened to the toasts about their beautiful future. When it was time for gifts, Mark's family presented them with lavish, expensive items. Our family's gifts were more modest but heartfelt, a stark contrast that Mark's parents noticed and judged. Finally, it was my turn. I stood up, the envelope in my hand, and announced that I wanted to give them something truly meaningful to start their new life. I explained that I knew weddings were expensive, and I wanted to help with their housing situation. My sister's face lit up with excitement. She took the envelope, her smile wide, expecting a check. Instead, she found a formal rental agreement. The document outlined a fair market monthly rent, security deposit, and maintenance responsibilities. Her smile vanished. She stared at the paper, a look of pure hatred mixed with embarrassment on her face. The entire table fell silent. Rather than handling it privately, she made a scene. She laughed loudly, waving the document in the air for everyone to see. "He's so cheap he's trying to charge his own sister rent," she announced to the whole room. Then she said, "If you want to be petty about money, maybe you should throw in a year of free rent, and you might actually get an invite to the wedding." Mark's family erupted in uncomfortable laughter. I could see them whispering and shaking their heads. That's when I smiled, took the envelope back, and stood up calmly. "You're right," I said. "I was being too generous." I pulled out a second envelope from my jacket, the one with the real surprise. I handed it to her with a dramatic flourish. "Since you found my generosity so amusing, you now have 30 days to either buy me out or put the house on the market." The silence was deafening. She opened the envelope, her hands shaking, and her face went white as she read the legal documents. A 30-day notice to quit for. Mark and the partition sale notice. Mark leaned in, his expression shifting from confusion to furious anger. His father demanded to know what was happening. I calmly explained that I owned half the house, had been covering all the major expenses for 2 years, and was simply exercising my legal right to formalize our arrangement. Their outrage was immediate and explosive. Mark's mother accused me of trying to sabotage the engagement out of jealousy. His father called me petty and vindictive. Through the cacophony, my sister just sat there, staring at the documents, her face completely blank. She finally looked up at me and asked if I was serious about the 30-day timeline. I told her I was completely serious and that the timeline was actually generous. If they wanted a rental arrangement, we could discuss one at a fair market rate, with a proper lease and security deposit. The dinner ended abruptly with Mark's family leaving in a huff. My sister and Mark left without another word to me. Their furious argument audible from the parking lot. The hardest part of this entire ordeal isn't the house, the money, or the damaged relationships. It's the profound and painful realization that my sister and I had fundamentally different definitions of family. I believe family meant a partnership, built on mutual respect and shared decisions. She seemed to think family was a blank check, a guarantee of unconditional support and a willingness to look the other way. No matter the transgression, we were living on different planets, speaking different languages, and neither of us could bridge that chasm. When I look back, I sometimes question if I could have handled it differently. Could I have been more patient, more forgiving? Maybe, but I also know that my attempts at reason were ignored, and that my sister was fully prepared to continue, taking advantage of my good nature. The financial and legal outcome was a victory. The personal cost, however, was immeasurable. I now sleep soundly, knowing I stood up for myself, but the silence between my sister and me is a constant reminder of the price I paid. Was it worth it? I'm still not sure. All I know is that I chose to honor myself, even if it meant losing her.